Breaking down isn't when you cry. It's when you no longer feel alive. You didn't fall. You didn't scream. You didn't even realize when it happened. One day you just realized that inside you were empty. And there was no tragic moment. Everything seemed normal. You worked. You ate. You talked. You even smiled. But you disappeared. All that remained was a shell repeating yesterday's behavior. That's how people break. Not like glass. But like a building where every day a brick is removed from the foundation until it starts to sink. You seem to still be standing. But you are no longer yourself. The scariest thing is that you don't notice it. Because you were prepared for it. Since childhood. They told you, be good, don't get angry, don't be afraid, don't stick your neck out. And you learned to be convenient. To keep quiet when you want to scream. To agree when you feel it's a lie. To smile when it's dark inside. You didn't live as you are, but as you were taught. The shadow began to grow. You cast it aside. Hid it. Ignored it. But it didn't go away. It accumulated. With every, I can't, with every, I shouldn't, with every, be like everyone else. It's like poison that you drip into yourself every day, thinking that's the way it should be. People don't break from external pressure. They break from internal betrayal. When you play a role that isn't yours for too long, you forget who you are. You can be in a room full of people and feel lonely. You can laugh and die inside. Because you are no longer there. All that remains is the habit of being alive. And here's what's important. Broken doesn't sound like a crash. It sounds like silence. Complete, deep, sticky silence. And if you hear it, it's not too late. They talked about him like he was crazy. But crazy is too convenient a word. It helps you not to delve deeper. To label, stick a label on it, and walk away. In reality, Nietzsche was a man who looked into the abyss and did not look away. While others prayed, hid, and deceived themselves, he exposed reality, down to the bone, down to the pain. He was not a philosopher in the academic sense. He was a living protest. Flesh torn apart by awareness. He did not compose truths, he suffered them. He did not teach how to live. He lived as if every day were the end. Nietzsche is the experience of an internal catastrophe turned inside out and written down. Loneliness became his companion not because he was strange. But because he went where others did not dare. He rejected the morality invented by the weak. He doubted God, truths, and humanity itself. And he discovered that beneath it all there was nothing. Emptiness. Bottomless. Chilling. But honest. That is why his ideas are so relevant today. We live in an age where we can no longer believe simply because that's the way it is. Our reality is a simulation of choice, freedom, and opinions. We are not free. We have simply learned to imitate freedom well. But inside, we feel the same emptiness that people fled from 150 years ago. Nietzsche said, God is dead. But this is not joy, not victory. It is a cry. It is horror. It is the realization that now everything is up to you. There is no longer any authority to tell you how to live. There is no external meaning. And if you don't create your own, you will drown. He called it the will to power. But not over others. Over yourself. Over the chaos within. Over fears, doubts, over your own insignificance. He suggested not to hope, but to create. Not to obey, but to become. The image of the superhuman is not about strength. It is about inner maturity. It's about the ability to look into the darkness and not become it. It's about being your own support. Without religion, without herd morality, without the approval of the crowd. He didn't shout, listen to me. He whispered, if you are alone in this darkness, know that you are not alone. Every person carries a shadow within themselves. This is not a poetic image. It is reality. The shadow is what you hide. What you don't want to admit. It is your aggression, envy, weakness, vindictiveness, greed, lust, pain. Everything that does not fit into the image of a good person. We hide our shadow because we are afraid of being rejected. From childhood, we were taught, that's bad, you can't do that, be a good boy, be a good girl. And we began to cut ourselves into pieces just to be accepted. In the end, all that remained was a mask. And you pushed the real you into the basement. But the shadow doesn't go away. It doesn't disappear. It gathers strength. It waits. And the longer you deny it, the more fiercely it will one day burst out. In the form of a flash of anger. A panic attack. A destructive act. Or an endless feeling of guilt and shame. Nietzsche wrote about Dionysus, the ancient god of instinct, destruction, chaos, and ecstasy. He knew that there is not only reason in a person, but also a beast. And if you want to be whole, you must acknowledge the beast within you. Don't suppress it. Don't fight it. Learn to talk to it. Integrating your shadow is an act of courage. It means looking into the places that scare you. It means admitting, yes, there is evil in me. There is destruction in me. And I accept that as part of myself. Only then do you become strong. Because strength does not come from controlling everything. It comes from knowing what you are capable of and choosing not to do it out of strength, not out of fear. That is why one-sided spirituality is so dangerous. Where you are taught to be light, kind, loving. This is also a form of escape. An illusion. And the higher you climb into the light, the deeper the shadow you cast. And one day it will consume you. That is why so many enlightened people later go mad or become aggressors. Nietzsche did not believe in virtue built on suppression. He said, you must be a dragon if you want to fight a dragon. You cannot defeat evil if you do not know what evil is. And not in yourself, but first and foremost in yourself. Your shadow is not your enemy. It is part of your strength. Recognize it, and you will become dangerous. And to be dangerous is to be free. Power is not something that is given to you. It is not a privilege or a gift. It is something you fight for. From the world. From others. From yourself. But first, from your illusions. Because the main enemy of inner strength is not fear. It is lies. Subtle, enveloping lies that you repeat to yourself. I can't. I'm not like that. That's not me. Every thought like this is like an invisible chain. And you don't even see how they tighten. Because they sound familiar. Convincing. Human. But they are not yours. They were put there. Quietly. Deeply. Early in the morning of your childhood. Strength begins with exposure. Of yourself. From the moment you stop looking for someone to blame. When you look in the mirror and don't make excuses. When you say, yes. That's me. I allowed it. I chose it. I kept quiet. I was afraid. I betrayed myself. Without pity. Without self-flagellation. Just honestly. This is the point of strength. Because honesty is not pain. It is a door. Creaky, heavy, rusty. But behind it is the real you. Strength is not about not feeling. It is about enduring. Looking truth in the eye and not falling. Seeing your weakness and not turning away. Being rejected and not betraying yourself. Losing and still getting back up. Strength is in consistency. In choosing a path and following it. Not because it's easy. But because you decided to. Because you are responsible for yourself. Because if not you, then no one. Strength is not a cry. It is an inner core. It is the firm no that you can say. It is the boundaries you set. It is the conscious yes for which you bear the consequences. It is the loneliness you accept. It is the freedom that causes others to panic. You can't become strong by staying comfortable. You can't be free if you're afraid of loneliness. You can't be mature if you're still hoping that someone will come and save you. Nietzsche wrote, "He who has a why to live can bear almost any how." This means that strength is not in the body. Not in words. But in meaning. In what you are willing to go through fire for. What you are willing to die for, and that is why you continue to live. Strength is you. When there is no one else. And if you stand up, no matter what, you are no longer broken. Today, there is a lot of talk about men. About how they should be. How they shouldn't be. But few people talk about one thing: we have lost touch with the archetype of masculinity. With the deep energy of support, will, direction, silent strength. Not aggression. Not domination. But maturity. Today's man is either depressed or compensates for his emptiness with bravado. He doesn't know who he is. He is torn between be strong and be sensitive. Between provide and be real. He is afraid of being aggressive, and therefore becomes helpless. He is afraid of being weak, and therefore wears a mask. But a real man is not a mask. Nor is he an ideal. He is someone who holds on. Who can stand in a storm. Who can endure pain. Not because men don't cry. But because his strength lies in the fact that he does not run away. We teach boys to be good. But we don't teach them how to deal with anger. We shame them for crying, and then wonder why they are silent. We say, be a man, but we don't show them what that means. As a result, we end up with men who are afraid of their own strength. Afraid to say they're hurting. Afraid to take responsibility. Afraid to be themselves. Maturity in men is inner silence. It's not about loud words. It's about keeping your word. It's about not running away from pain, but going through it. It's about being able to kill, but choosing not to. Not out of fear. Out of dignity. A real man is someone who faces his shadow. And doesn't become it. He transforms it. Today, being a man is a challenge. Because the world offers no support. Because images are false. Because everything is unstable. But right now is the time to reclaim your foundation. Not take it away, but reclaim it. Through pain. Through honesty. Through inner discipline. You don't have to be comfortable. You don't have to be right. You have to be real. Feelings are not weakness. Weakness is when you are afraid to live them. You were taught to be strong. But you were not taught to feel. You were told, don't whine, pull yourself together, don't be a wimp. The idea was that feelings make you vulnerable. That if you open up, you will be destroyed. So you learned not to feel. You shut yourself off. You started to control. To rationalize. Sarcasm instead of pain. Anger instead of fear. Coldness instead of vulnerability. You became smart. But here's the problem: feelings don't go away. They just accumulate. They hide in your body. They destroy you from within. They turn into fatigue, apathy, depression. Feeling pain is not a weakness. It is a sign of life. Dulling your feelings means dulling joy, love, and inspiration. You cannot feel selectively. Either you are open, or you are dead. But the world is afraid of people who feel. Because they cannot be manipulated. Because they are alive. They are honest. They don't hide behind schemes. They don't say, everything is fine, when they want to cry. They don't stay when they want to leave. A person who feels is a person who has a soul. And a soul always hurts. But it is also deep. And real. To start feeling again, you have to go through fear. Through old tears. Through what you ran away from. You have to say to yourself, I allow myself. Pain. Joy. Anger. Shame. Passion. Everything. Without exception. Without trying to explain everything. It's not easy. It's not quick. But it's the only way to get yourself back. Not a concept of yourself. But a living, pulsating, real you. Feelings are not your enemy. They are your compass. And if you dare to listen to them, you will find your way back. You are not alone if you are with yourself. Loneliness is often frightening. Because we were taught that being alone means being a failure. That if no one chooses you, there is something wrong with you. That value comes from outside. That meaning comes from relationships, recognition, and being needed. But what if loneliness is not a curse, but a door? What if it is in solitude that you hear your own voice for the first time? Not other people's expectations. Not other people's judgments. But yourself. The real you. The unexpected. The incomprehensible. The alive. The world is full of people who are afraid to be alone. So they choose anyone. They cling to toxic relationships. They endure. They bend. Anything to avoid the silence. But silence is not the enemy. It is a mirror. It shows you who you are without a role. Without a mask. Without an audience. Yes, it's scary at first. Because behind the masks there is emptiness. But if you don't run away, something will start to grow. A connection. With yourself. With your body. With the earth. With your shadow. With your soul. Slowly. Without guarantees. Without likes. But for real. Loneliness is not the same as isolation. It is a space where you cease to be a stranger to yourself. You won't become stronger if you are with someone all the time. Because strength is born in emptiness. Where you fall. Where there is no one to tell you what to do. Where there is only you, and you alone. Without crutches. Being alone is not the end. It's the beginning. The beginning of returning to yourself. Sometimes, to become yourself, you must first die. Many people think that awakening is light. It's inspiration. It's happiness. But no. True awakening is a nightmare. It's when you suddenly realize that you've been living someone else's life. That your goals aren't yours. That your love is addiction. And your kindness is fear of rejection. Awakening is when the facade crumbles. When you suddenly see people as they really are. And yourself too. Without embellishment. Without hope. Without filters. It hurts. It's scary. It's lonely. Because you can no longer be as you were before, but you don't yet know how to be as you are now. In myths, this is called descending into the underworld. Experiencing symbolic death. Losing everything, meaning, relationships, masks, even yourself. To go through this, you must become nothing. Ashes. So that one day, you can be reborn. But there is a danger here. Because when the old personality collapses, a vacuum appears. And if you don't create a new self, others will create you. Systems. People. Chance. You will once again become someone else's product. Only in a new guise. You don't become yourself once and for all. Every day, you choose who you want to be. Or someone else will choose for you. That's why Nietzsche spoke of the will to power. It's not aggression. It's an act of creation. When you build yourself. Step by step. Without guarantees. Without applause. Simply because there is no one else. Reintegration is returning from the dungeon not just as a survivor, but as a different person. And this is not about the ideal hero. It's about someone who knows they could be a monster, and chooses to be human. Because they've seen both sides. Those who have died once are no longer afraid of losing anything. They have already been at rock bottom. They know what it's like to be nothing. That's why they are free. They cannot be broken, they have already been broken. They cannot be bought, everything has already been taken from them. They cannot be intimidated, they have already gone through fear. But there is a fine line here. Rebirth can give rise to strength. Or it can give rise to pride. Hardness. Alienation. And then, instead of a living being, you become an idea. A scheme. A shield. But not a human being. Awakening is not a triumph. It is the silence. In which you hear your own voice for the first time. Those who rise from the ashes must not forget why they did it. Not for power. Not for image. But for authenticity. For the opportunity to be yourself, even if no one needs you. Even if it hurts. Even if you are left alone. True strength is gentleness after the storm. It is the warm hand you extend to others. When you could have chosen not to forgive. It is the choice not to seek revenge. When you already know how to be dangerous.